Hey everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to the Daily Dose. I'm Arnie. You're watching Pepper Tree Villa. I'm in a different location today. It's a little warm outside, and this empty office at the moment seems to be a very good place for me. I hope the lighting is okay for you. I hope the sound is okay. Just let me know there in the comments, and we'll get going with it. But I just wanted to thank everyone for reaching out to me this week and saying, how are you doing? And everything. It's been great to hear from people. Thank you so much, everyone. Hey, Zip, how you doing? Good to see you here early today. Hello. How you doing, Dougie? How are things over on the other side of the world from us? Thank you so much for being. Hey, thank you, Danny. Thanks for letting me know if everything's okay. This is September 6th. We are looking at this day in Disney history. Hello, Ben. Thanks for being here. Samantha, thank you for joining. We're looking at a list of about 6 or 7 items here where I'm going to discuss things in Disney history. So I hope you're all sitting down. Hello, Jason, X420 Gamer. Thanks for being here. Amy, oh my goodness, everyone's just, hey, hey, hey. Mike Wheeler, thank you for being here. Everyone, thank you so much for joining for this edition of the Daily Dose of Disney. It's good to have you here. Hello, Meredith. Good to have you here. Meredith, part of the Do Philly crew. So good to have you here. September 6th, 2019. That is today. But I'm talking about things that have happened in the world of Disney in the past. So let's go back to 1976. On this day in 1976, I can't believe it, the bicentennial celebration was going on that year. And at that time, there was a parade in both California and Florida running down Main Street in both Magic Kingdoms in the continent. It was called America on Parade. And on this day in 1976, America on Parade had its final run at both Disneyland and the Magic Kingdom. It was kind of a, looking back on it, I had very fond memories of it, but then I saw pictures of it. I'm thinking, did I really like this parade? I guess I did. It was interesting. There was a unique soundtrack to it. It had synthesizers and like old carousel organs and things like that. Kind of like the sound that they were going with the Main Street Electrical Parade. So they were getting away from orchestras at that time in the 70s. What really brought the orchestra back? Yeah, creepy heads. Exactly, Ben. Creepy heads. They had oversized head costumes of historic figures. So you saw people like Benjamin Franklin and Betsy Ross going down the parade, and these overhead, I mean, they were literally this big, exaggerated, oversized heads. So it was a little creepy, but the music was catchy. Like I said, they were going away from orchestras at that time, and it wasn't, hey, Rob, thanks for being here. It wasn't until Star Wars that really solidified orchestral scores in movies, because the actual orchestra scores were disappearing in film as well in the mid-70s. But John Williams and his wonderful score from Star Wars really helped revitalize the full orchestral score in filmmaking. And I couldn't be happier about that. As a music student and someone that has done orchestrating, I absolutely love having a full orchestra to listen to. So it's wonderful. So that was in 1976. In 1982, Disney, is that a Disney thing that you have on? Well, thanks, Zachary. As a matter of fact, it is. I just got this lanyard. There, if you can see that, there it is. This lanyard I picked up at Disneyland a couple weeks ago. Hey, ASP Fishing, thanks for being here. ASAP Fishing One, that is. Thanks for being here. Yeah, it's just a lanyard that I have on. It's mouse heads. People all around me know that I'm a Disney fan. And believe me, I discuss our channel all the time in the office. Every chance I get, people know that I'm either going live or something. So people actually encouraged me to use this office today. So I thought, okay, I can do that. So again, 1982, Disneyland was in the midst of a redo of Fantasyland. They were going to be premiering the new Fantasyland in 1983. However, not all attractions. Hey, Destinations Chronicles, thanks for joining. Not all attractions were going to be opening with the new Fantasyland in 1983. Case in point here is Alice in Wonderland. Now, a lot of the attractions had already closed at Fantasyland. Hey, Mickey sightings, no problem. You're only 5 minutes. I'm only 5 minutes into the broadcast, so no problems. Thanks for being here. In 1982, Alice in Wonderland was one of the only attractions still running up to this point in Fantasyland, while they were starting the deconstruction and reconstruction of the whole land. Various things happened. They moved the carousel, Dumbo moved to a new location, the Mad Tea Party was sunk into the ground a little lower than the rest of the ground around it, and it was moved to a new location to create more of a Alice in Wonderland area. And it was in that area where the Alice in Wonderland attraction currently stood, and now it was closed in that location so they could rebuild it. And it wouldn't be until April of 1985 that the attraction would reopen. I'm not sure what the delay was or what was going on, but all I know is that Alice in Wonderland it opened later from Fantasyland originally in the 50s, and they did the same thing with the 80s. So that was in 1982. Also on this day in 1982, let's go to Walt Disney World for this one. Now the debut of Epcot was coming on October 1st of 1982. And as a thank you for all the hard work that the construction crew had been doing, they actually opened Epcot for a preview so that families of all the construction workers could do like a preview of the park. They could walk around Future World and World Showcase. They were able to do that 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. It was actually on this day. It happened to be Labor Day that year, so it was a holiday, I guess, for the work crew. I'm not sure if that was true or not, but from what I could see, it was a family construction preview. So for those that were privileged enough to work on Epcot, they actually had their families join them for a preview walk around. I'm thinking that's pretty darn cool. I would have loved to have seen Epcot in the 80s. I didn't get to Epcot until January of 1996, just after they closed World of Motion. So I never got to see that attraction. Hey, Alan, gallantly streaming, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. So that was also in 1982. In 1995, I've mentioned it before, different conventions. In this case, it was the 1995 Disneyana convention, and it kicked off at Walt Disney World this year. In the 90s, they would switch between coasts. So one year there would be at Disneyland, another year at Walt Disney World, and so forth. They really don't do Disneyana conventions anymore of that nature. Other organizations have kind of like taken up the mantle and have done stuff like that. So if you ever need any Disneyana, look for a convention of that nature. You won't be disappointed. I've done that, and I've seen a lot of stuff. In 2004, Disney World was now opening finally on a limited schedule. This was after a weekend of punishment from Hurricane Francis, which really plowed Central Florida. That was 15 years ago today. But Disney World, Magic Kingdom, and Epcot, and Typhoon Lagoon, Downtown Disney, and the Wide World of Sports Complex opened, not the studios. Studios didn't open at that point yet. It's good to talk about Disney at the office. Now you should make the office into a Disney World office where you build a haunted mansion rides at a desk. I like that idea. I like your thinking. Hey, Hiking Deep, thanks for joining. Good to have you here. So that was in 2004. In 2009, now this one is of particular interest to Ben and me because we've seen this particular documentary. We really like this one. It's a movie called Waking Sleeping Beauty. Now, if you've never seen the documentary Waking Sleeping Beauty, do yourself a favor. Any Disney fan would absolutely love this documentary. It was directed by the producer Don Hahn, who's done many animated features. And then it was also it was produced by Hahn and also former Disney executive Peter Schneider. They debuted this film at the Telluride Film Festival in Colorado on this day in 2009, so 10 years ago. And at that time, the film documented the history of Walt Disney feature animation from the making of The Fox and the Hound in 1981 until the making of The Lion King in 1994. And then it finally was released for limited viewing in theaters on March 26th, 2010. Great film. You will not be disappointed. So if you've not seen that one before, Waking Sleeping Beauty, I highly recommend it. And then for those of you that follow me on or follow us on our social media platform, on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, you probably saw a picture of an attraction maybe some of you have never seen before. If you've been to places like Cedar Point, Knott's Berry Farm, they have attractions that either shoot up or drop you. It's either called the Power Tower or the Supreme Scream, something like that. At California Adventure, they installed an attraction just like that. It was called the Maliboomer. The park was opened with a lot of puns for the names. So for instance, you had Mulholland Madness for a mouse coaster, which Mulholland Drive is very curvy through the hills of Los Angeles. They had a snack shack called San Andreas Shakes, and it was based on the San Andreas earthquake fault, and they served milkshakes and things like that. In this case, the Maliboomer was that attraction. You'd sit in a seat, 4 across. Hi, Stacy. Thanks for joining. I hated riding that ride at DCA. Only ever did it once. Destinations Chronicles. I only did it a few times. I was not fond of it. So you sat in the seat and they ejected you up the tower. Hey, Dylan. Hi, I'm Forky. Anyway, that attraction lasted a little over 9 years at California Adventure. On this day in 2010, the final day that visitors were able to ride the tall Maliboomer attraction happened on this day, 9 years ago. The very next day, crews started removing the attraction. It had been long planned to demolish it. This particular ride was, you could go up to 180 feet up in the air, being shot up in the air on this tower. I was not, pardon the burp, that burp is sponsored by D&G Explorers. All burps on the internet are sponsored by D&G Explorers. D&G Explorers, taste the rainbow. Anyway, this thrill ride shot up 180 feet and it no longer fit within the theme of it. I work as a location scout for Discovery Channel. We're working on a project that can't provide details, an episode from Walt Disney World. Destination Chronicles, that sounds amazing. Can you private message me a little more detail about that? You don't have to reveal any details about what you're doing on, but just let me know a little bit about that. I'd really be interested in that. Anyway, so this particular attraction did not fit within the scheme of Paradise Pier anymore. They were going more for a early 1900s feel on the pier. And I understand that. When the park first opened, they cut a lot of corners, a lot of details were left out of the final product. If you went into Paradise Pier, a lot of the buildings were very flat, very almost two-dimensional. You know Disney, they have detail on everything. This particular thing, on that part of Paradise Pier, it actually looked like a strip mall. It was actually rather embarrassing. On Discovery Channel, great. Oh, fantastic. That's awesome. Okay, so yeah, it was embarrassing to Disney that they actually put out this park that way with the lack of detail and some of the things they did. It really was surprising that they built it that way, but I understand it because they were doing everything they could to cut costs, which is why eventually the whole park was called, well, we called it that because we were living down there at the time in Southern California when the whole park was designed. Paul Pressler was the president of Disneyland at that time, and he loved to cut corners anywhere he could. He loved to open stores as well because his strength was retail. He knew retail. He ended up working at the Gap after Disneyland. But during that time, when that park opened, we called it Pressler's Multiplex because a lot of the attractions were just movie screens. Everything from Soarin' to It's Tough to Be a Bug to Muppet Vision 3D. There was another film. Instead of having something like the American Adventure, they had this thing called Golden Dreams. It was just a movie starring Whoopi Goldberg. Nothing special about it, but still, it was a movie in Pressler's Multiplex. Sometimes we also refer to California Adventure as that park in the parking lot, since it was built in the parking lot that used to house, well, you used to park there for Disneyland. So anyway, well, enough of me pontificating about that. Apologies. That's about all I have for history today, for this day in Disney history, for the Daily Dose. If you haven't seen it yet, make sure that you check out Pepper Tree Villa. We have a video there of Ben eating at Disneyland, and it's just part one of a series of videos that he's doing of our recent trip to Disneyland. You won't want to miss this video. It's actually pretty funny. You'll also see some other YouTube channels there. You might see Juan Rodriguez as well. So check it out. But you got to stick out. You got to stick to the end of the video to see everyone there. So yeah, it's only a 5-minute video, so definitely check it out. It's Life with Ben, episode 14, Eating at Disneyland, part 1. Part 2 will be coming soon. Have you heard about anything about the Swiss Family Robinson reboot? I haven't heard too much about it. I've just heard talks about the reboot happening, but I don't know any details, like for instance, any stars or anything like that. Thank you, Mickey. Sightings. I'm glad you like that. Anyway, the Swiss Family Robinson, yeah, I'm hoping that they do something with it, because there's a lot that they can do with that as a reboot. Even as a series on Disney Plus would be kind of pretty cool, I think. There's so much intellectual property that Disney has that they'll be able to play with and be as creative as possible with Disney Plus. I'm just looking to see what the possibilities are that they're going to do. So anyway, everyone, check out Life with Ben. I will be back tomorrow with another episode of the Daily Dose. And if I can time it right, it will be Ben and Doug joining me as well. When will I be uploading my vlogs from Disneyland? I'm actually going to be starting the work on the edits this weekend, Danny. So hopefully I'll be able to get those up as soon as possible, because I want to make sure that those videos stay relevant for our time that we've been able to spend at Disneyland just last week. Add CG to the Swiss Family, that would be mind-blowing. I agree, Hike and Deep, it would. It would totally be mind-blowing. One more thing. If you haven't liked the video, make sure you like this video on your way out after the broadcast. Thank you so much for the time that you've spent with me. I really appreciate it, but I'll be back tomorrow with the Daily Dose, and hopefully Ben and Doug will be joining me as well. I look forward to seeing you all there as well. And we're going to do our best. Oh, Meredith, thank you so much. I'm glad that I could help with the Pepper Tree Villa fix. So I'm going to do my best to always keep the timing for our show at 1:30. The only thing that would delay me from 1:30 would be if I have a meeting in the office at that time, because I know at least once a month I have a 1:30 meeting. So otherwise, thank you so much for being here. Have a magical evening, everyone. And have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Bye, everyone.